What's up, gamers? Welcome to Battle Mallet Podcast, episode 60, Fresh or Frozen, our Zondara's Gravebreakers and Rimelocked Relics review. Say that 3 times fast. For anyone that isn't familiar, the Battle Mallet Podcast is the journey of 3 busy gamers playing games that they love, balancing life with those games, and making their way to the Nova Open Convention every year. My name is Jerod Johnson, and tonight I am joined by Trace Al Capone Hyde.
I prefer fresh.
That's fair. And Jason Tabled Noob Murray.
I mean, that could have been a better title, Fresh and Never Frozen. I don't know who uses that slogan.
Well, I don't want to get sued, so okay. I didn't do that.
Sounds good.
Yeah, right?
Sounds good.
We're not talking about square patties here. We're talking about love and curses and frozen bows and arrows. That's what we're about. So, got quite a lot of content to get through in the next few weeks. So, for context, we are recording on March 13th. This is 3 days before the pre-orders for Zondara's Gravebreakers, Rimelocked Relics, and Rivals of the Mirrored City all go up for pre-order. We are not going to cover all of that in this episode, so stay tuned.
I want a 5-hour long episode.
I need sleep, Jason. I need sleep.
You would.
I'm weak. Just call me Pick. I'm not strong enough.
Yep.
Sometimes I just end up underground, and you'll have to exhume me.
But you'll come back.
I will, yep. So, so we're going to cover Zondara's Gravebreakers in our traditional Rivals review with the, added kind of Nemesis pairings that we think will work there. And then we're going to cover the Rimelocked Relics Rivals deck in the same fashion. In this episode, keep an eye out for future episodes. If you want an hour plus long kind of gut reaction, we did an unboxing and it was totally scattered. I started it, and then Trace joined in later, and then Jason joined in even later. But you get kind of a gut reaction. So if you want to see that, check it out on YouTube. You'll get our gut reaction as we flip through the cards live for the first time. But keep an eye out for subsequent episodes and blogs about Mr. Mollog, the Thorny Queen, Scritch, yes, and Zarbag and his best bud Snurk. But before we get into everything else, as always, we'd like to catch up on what we've been up to. So we'll start with Trace.
I feel like we always start with me, but that's okay.
We do.
Well, Consistency. I've been painting a bunch of, I think the last time we spoke, I was almost done with all the infantry for Legions Imperialis that I had. 2 boxes worth of Solar Auxilia.
Yep.
They are now complete. And I have since been painting Zondara's Gravebreakers, not Cursebreakers, Jesus.
Wrong breaker.
Wrong breakers.
Breaker 19.
So the Gravebreakers are done.
They're spicy.
Hopefully
they're so
Jason enjoys them.
They're perfect. Like, they truly are. I appreciate it. That rose that you freehanded is just so nice.
Well, that's what she's searching for. She's searching for her lost relic, and that's her lost relic.
I know. We gotta find that rose.
She got to dig for the rose. And then after I finished that, I started working on the tanks for my Legions Imperialis stuff. Those hopefully will go quickly. And then the carrots at the end of the stick for that system will be the Titans and stuff. But after I finish the tanks, I will be starting on some old world stuff. So you guys will see some of that popping up on my socials at some point soon. Once I get the Legions Imperialis stuff, I'll take a bunch of pictures of that stuff and get it up to. Excited to have that stuff done. I've been playing some games with my son. He's been asking to do some Tabletop Tuesday type stuff. So I've been very excited to do that. So far we've played two rounds of 40K because dinner and bedtime happened. But then he's been wanting to play some Pokemon, so I know that we're all kind of as a group trying to get the kids out and do some Pokemon stuff, so I'm excited for that.
Yeah, trying to organize that, which is very thematic to this podcast, right? Balancing life with those games. So getting into Pokemon as a group for us to bond with our children on the heels of me and Emma and our Loracana adventure, this Pokemon thing to coordinate has been a little bit fun. But for our listeners, especially those that are local, anyone that has kids and may play Pokemon, we are looking to get together one Sunday a month. Right now it's looking like a local shop named Gamers Armory. But feel free to come out and join us. We'll try to post in the Discord when we are having that. But it's just something that we're trying to get together with the kids and our families and adventure into gaming, because they all seem to have interest in that game.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But other than that, that's really all I've been doing. I think I came out and played 2 games of Underworlds last week.
The greatest game ever.
Yeah. 2 games of Underworlds. I actually, it's the second and third time that I've ever played Duval. So I had not really played the vampires much at all. I know that they've been popular with other people in the group, but I personally never played them. So that was fun to try something new for myself. Jason gave me a thumping, and then I lost to Brian as well, who there was some really bad card draw on my side and some good play on his side too. So those 2 things kind of aligned, and it's a good job, Brian, for kicking my teeth too. It was not a good night. There was no dubs to be had, but that is okay. You can't win them all, but excited to get some games in and just enjoy the camaraderie. What about you, Jason? What you been up to?
I mean, just to touch on that game, it was special to me because it was the first time my Thrice Full Discord had hit the board, right? So thank you to Justin, the Armed Painter, for getting those back to me. And he did a great job. Like, they look Slaneshi, at least Big Boy and the Assassin look Slaneshi. But then my Wizard, they look like a snake, like a copperhead snake. He hit it out of the park. I really like it. Instead of going with that ice theme that a lot of people have gone with on the base because of the Death Gorge, he went with like a sort of sandy desert theme. But while we were playing, I was so hyped because I moved Fatty Daddy into a position to attack. I attacked. It was successful. We did 3 damage to a little vampire, and then I played that card. 5 fighters adjacent in a row, just like a snake. 2 of them vulnerable, not mine. Not my fighters were vulnerable. And I said, Mr. Trace, make a decision. Would you like to damage all 5 fighters or just 1? And he wimped out, listeners. He wimped out and said just 1. He didn't want to lose 2 fighters in the same gambit. I was disappointed, to say the least.
He was not tempted.
Some call it wimping out. Some call it I haven't activated one of these fighters and I need to kill Vexmore. So
it was fun.
Yeah, it was definitely a key moment in that game. It was fun. I made the right choice, though. I don't care what you say. I made the right choice.
You did, but Slanesh was trying to influence.
Yeah.
I really like Thricefold. I've played them 3 times now. And they're just, I don't know, they're fun. It's the first 3 fighter warband that I enjoy to give difficult decisions at times. I also enjoy making difficult decisions at times. I mean, I've definitely lost with them. And it just is, and it's nice to get rewarded if your dice are terrible, but mine never are. So none of them ever inspire. I just chomp, bite.
Or you inspire them wrong.
Yeah, I did definitely do that. Now I have a cadence, right? So like, because I
Yes.
can't read it, so it goes like I put them in order. So that if the one messes up, they inspire the one next to them.
Yep.
So that's the cards. I put the cards in order.
Yep.
Yeah, so played that in league, a local league that played those 2 games with those. Also played them in an online league, so we're back doing that again, although very unsuccessful, but still fun to roll some virtual dice. Other than that, a lot of card games. So went to a tournament for Loricana. Thought I was going to do well, and then I ran up against my daughter, and she stomped my face in with her own made deck, so not like an internet deck. She put some work in and built a deck and did well. The only game she won that night totally was mine. She took some rounds off of people. She was only 2'd one time out of 4 rounds, so she definitely is growing in her Loricana ways. And really, like, I've kind of just swallowed my pride and totally gone into the card game genre. I was kind of like just dipping my toe in, but I find it very satisfying. Obviously, Underworlds is still my favorite game, but we are all in on Loricana, and I'm definitely building some decks and some theme decks. It's kind of taken over a lot of the hobby time. And then I tried Star Wars Unlimited, which just released last week. I really like the draft format, so I've never been a part of a TCG that did a draft format before. I mean, the only TCG I've been a part of is Loricana, so that was enjoyable. I don't know if the game will fully hook me, but I am giving it a try, and if not, we'll sell it off and move on to the next. Played some more Dice Throne as well, so that game is kind of picked up here. The only thing I didn't play, though, that I'm very disappointed, was this game that came in from Nova. I think somebody else played it. So, Jerod, what have you been up to?
Yeah. So, been playing some Pokemon with my son and my daughter, and my wife is now joining in. We have actually signed up for a Pokemon pre-release, and it is the first time in my life that I have ever signed up for anything like this. So I think we got like 3 boxes because my daughter at 7 is like not quite ready to like start building and playing her own decks. But we're going to do that this Saturday. But the game that Jason is referencing is Rim Racers by Corvus Belli. It is Mario Kart, the board game. And so I started playing it. I played it twice with the family. The first time we started it at like 7:30 at night and the family was tapped out. But then we played it on a Saturday afternoon and the kids were like, oh, this is a lot of fun because we're like knocking into each other and slip sliding all over the place on oil slicks and shooting each other with rocket launchers and machine guns and watching carts explode and then get back on the battlefield. And so it is basically as much fun as I remember. It would be like a lot of fun, like with adults with a couple of drinks in hand, I think. But I certainly recommend it. It's family friendly enough, easy enough to pick up. You can make the track as short or as long as you want. So you make a short track and it's a short game. You make a long track, it could be a long game. And that's been a lot of fun. I've been painting some mutants. So I finished Bishop and Iceman. Have started working on Nightcrawler and the Shadow King. So I'm excited to get those all finished up for Marvel Crisis Protocol. And then the one thing that I didn't talk about 2 episodes ago, which is quite the epic saga, is how I have an old world army now. So ages and ages and ages ago, Trace and I would butt heads against each other in Warhammer Fantasy. He had his Chaos army, and I had my Lizardmen army. And then Age of Sigmar happened, and the world blew up, and Lizardmen did not play the way that I wanted them to anymore. So over the course of time, I ended up selling them off to somebody local-ish in North Carolina. And then they announced Old World. And I was like, I wonder if I can find the person that I sold them to. So like I started digging through emails, doing all of these things. and actually tracked the person down. I thought that they were in Statesville. It turns out they were in. It is north of Monroe, southwest of Statesville. I don't remember where.
Lincolnton?
It's not important. What? Lincolnton. Thanks, Jason. And so my brother lives in North Charlotte, and if anybody remembers from 2 episodes ago, my brother came up on a weekend, and so like I Venmo'd my brother. My brother took the 25-minute drive to a gas station to meet this guy, paid the guy, and then when he came up to play games, he handed me literally the original giant Tupperware box of all of my Lizardmen minis, plus a smattering of other minis that this guy had bought and either not painted or had not built. So now I have my Old World army back. And it's just cool because it's like sitting on my shelf right now. Like fully painted 3,000+ points of Old World Lizardmen.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I'm excited. I need to play it, but I need to have time to play it. But we'll see. I don't know. We'll get there. And we've signed up for Nova.
Yeah. So that's what you mentioned Rem Racers and some drinks.
Yep.
Now that we've signed up for Nova, I think that's going to happen. I think we're going to bring it.
Yes.
Play some games and drink some drinks.
Yes. That'll have
sign up for Nova. What did you pick? Any updates on what you signed up for, or we want to save that for another episode?
Yeah, I think we save it.
Oh, we save it?
Ooh. I think we save it. We'll do like a little mini-sode.
Spoilers and teasers.
In the midst of this like massive release of content that we're trying to get through in some sort of timely fashion. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's it. I feel like
there's one more thing that we've been doing, at least some of us have been doing. And that's
those of us that don't need sleep, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exterminating bugs and robots.
Yeah.
Yep.
I exterminated some bugs and rescued some civilians with you guys one night.
Yeah. For liberty.
For liberty. For Super Earth.
Fun game.
Yep.
It's a very fun game.
Talk about Helldivers 2 for anybody that isn't familiar.
Or has been under a rock.
Yep. Maybe they've been under a rock waiting for rescue from the Helldivers.
That's possible.
It is possible. Anyway, so I think that covers that. So we'll take a break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about quite possibly the most strongly themed warband in Warhammer Underworlds, Zondara's Gravebreakers.
And we're back. And I am ready to talk about the greatest themed warband in the 5 or 6 years that I've been playing this game. I don't know, is it 5 or 6? It's a long time.
It's 6 years.
Good Lord.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
I am super excited to talk about this warband, Zondara's Gravebreakers.
Oh my gosh, I hate you so much. Say, all right, we ready? Are you ready?
No.
Zon.
It's
Zon.
Zandires.
Zon.
No,
repeat after me.
O. There's no O in there.
Repeat after me. Zon. Dar. Zondara.
Zandires.
Nailed it. Trace is like rubbing his face right now. He's so mad.
It's Zandara. It's totally an A. It's an A in there.
There's 2 A's, but not where you want them to be. It's fine, Jason. You're good. Zandara's.
Zandora's.
Nailed it. The consummate professional here.
All right, so Zondara's. Stupid. Zandires is so much better.
That's already another warband.
I know. I like it.
This is like her, like she's like taken, like she's no longer a Stormcast. She's gone off the deep end, fallen in love with a monster. It's a tale as old as time.
Yes. You didn't let me get to the lore part of it. You just corrected me on some pronunciation of some made up word that you you're using. Jeez Louise. Don't you know these things?
Carry on, sir.
All right. So anyway, so she used to be this great, sorceress, Inger, and something happened, and the love of her life was turned into a beast. One can only assume that he was having a grand ball.
Naturally,
as one beautiful husband would do. And another sorceress was jealous because he was not very nice, and she turned him into a beast. It's not written down here, but that's what I'm going with.
I mean, the simplest solution is often the correct one.
Yes. So then Zondara.
Big heart hand. Big heart hands.
Goes out on this quest.
You did well, sir. I'm so proud of you.
She goes out on this quest to find the rose. That's what's happening. To turn him back into her one true love. All joking aside, and sorry we kind of like got away from it there. There is a lot of theme here. So she now is resurrecting skeletons or normal household items like candlesticks and wardrobes and clocks, but to go out and help her find these things. And I just really, really like it. I really enjoyed it. I think the cards throughout kind of emphasize this theme of the quest of undying love. It is not often in Warhammer that we get a true love story. Granted, it may be dark and twisted, like the setting is. But some cool things on her card, right? She is 3 move, one block, 4 health. And she's got a range 2 attack, but it's pretty wimpy at just 2 fury for 2 damage. But she has stolen knowledge, which is a reaction. Use this after this fighter's activation. If cast, heal 1 a friendly fighter within 3 hexes, or deal 1 damage to an enemy fighter within 1. So it's really cool, right? Like you're making the attack. It has the potential to go to 3 damage if both of these things go off, although slim because of the odds. Her inspire is if her Beastie Boy Furlane has 2 upgrades that can't be illusions. And then that leads me to the other thing that's on her card, and it's also on his as well, which is Tragedy. And this is really a really, really cool mechanic to help you kind of get through your deck. And we haven't seen anything like this before. But in a power step, in place of playing a power card, English is tough, you can discard an objective card that names 1 or more friendly fighters that are out of action, and then draw an objective card. So we have not seen that ever to get through an objective deck. Yes, it's kind of like salvage, but just for the objectives, and that'll help you mill through, especially with this one having some objectives for him or her. And then he really is a beast. 4 move, 2 dodge, 4 health. He has 3 fury on with Grievous, and then when he inspires, if she has 2 upgrades, he goes to 3 damage and 5 move. So
yeah,
he does not like when she is not happy.
Yeah.
And then we have these like little gribbly guys.
So just to back, he has the beast icon too. So like, he can't hold objectives, can't have attack action upgrades. Like, not just is he a beast in combat, but he's literally like a beast.
Most definitely. I thought that was implied because he is the beast. But I mean, I'm glad that he has the icon as well. Let's
be explicit here.
Okay.
Not that kind of explicit though. It's too much editing.
Rules matter. Rules matter, sir. Rules matter.
And then there's 3 zombie folk here. Again, all beasts, and I think this will come up as we get into their decks, but 4 beasts out of 5 in the warband is interesting. They all have 3 move, 1 shield, and 2 health. They all have different variety of attacks. Pink right here, right? That's a pink. Oh, and I'm sorry, pick. Pick is a 1 range, 1 fury for 2 damage. Toil, also known as Cogsworth himself, range 2, 2 fury for 1 damage. And then Crack Tomb, which would be Lumiere, is 2 fury for 1 damage. They all inspire when they get a raised counter. And how do they get raised? And here's the other fantastic mechanic. So these 3 little zombies are out there searching for this rose. And they do that by grave breaking objectives. So they move on to an objective. You can grave break, which basically tears up that objective. You place it in a hex adjacent to that fighter, and you have 2 options after you do this. Other than just placing the objective token, you can either exhume, which is resurrect one of the other minions as long as Zondara is alive, or you can kind of go through your upgrade deck and choose any Gravebreakers upgrade that is out of your power deck and put it into your hand. And that is really strong.
It's so good.
So
yeah,
when they inspire, they just get more accurate and some more damage, but some really wicked mechanics to tie into the theme, and that's what has me excited about Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah. No, I mean, they're good. And I think one of the coolest things is this is the first instance that I've seen in Age of Sigmar where a wizard is blending 2 flavors of magic. So she's a necromancer, so she has Shaishan magic, but she's also using Gur, like beast magic. So she's like melded the 2 together to do cool things.
We are blending.
It's good stuff.
It's great stuff. So that's kind of the fighters in a nutshell. That is the warband and the theme. Where do we want to start with objectives to get this train a rolling? Anything, Trace?
Objectives. Let's see. I think we need to touch on. I really like Fates Entwined as far as the objectives go.
It's a good one.
Fates Entwined says it's a hybrid. It says score this in an end phase if a friendly Zondara and a friendly Furlane are within 2 hexes of each other, or a friendly Zondara and a friendly Furlane are out of action. So they either need to be together in life or be together in death. This is, really super easy to score early, which is kind of how we score and pick some of these cards based off of, we're trying to look for what you're getting the first round. So it's very highly likely that you'll score this. It's just reliable. Like, it doesn't require you to do anything other than just keep them close to each other, or have them both be dead. So
that would be bad.
That one. Yeah, that would be bad. That would
be a tragic end. It
would be.
A tragedy.
At least they'll be happy together no matter where they're at.
Yeah. They're at least together.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Yep.
Anger. Jerod?
Yeah, so there's another one that's very similar to this on the end phase side, and that is Dreamer's Respite. And so I think if you have either one of these, you're in a good spot for an end phase in round 1. So Dreamer's Respite, this is a duel. Score this in an end phase if there's a friendly surviving Zondara and there's a friendly surviving Furlane. So it's less restrictive than Fates Entwined, but there is a caveat there in that you might want this later, because when you score this, if it is the 3rd end phase, gain 2 additional glory points. So
the second option just feels a little more win more to me. Like, because if they're both alive, things are probably going well for you.
Yeah.
So
agreed.
I'd rather just get the glory early.
Yes.
Just in case.
Yep. So I think if you have either of these on the end for your end phase objective, I think you're in a good spot.
Yeah. The other end phase, because I'm going to work backwards to the surge here. So is No Stone Unturned. Score this in end phase if you've placed 3 or more different feature tokens in the preceding action phase. So again, they have to be different, but It says feature tokens, so remember that you can place a feature token for taking someone out of action.
Yep.
So that could definitely help you trigger this. But you're also like you're grave breaking, so I think that one is pretty easy, and that's a 2 glory end phase in round 1 if you have that. And for me, it really just sets up the game. So.
Yes. Well, yeah, and you're grave breaking, so you're getting all of these upgrades, exactly the ones that you want out of the Zondara's Gravebreakers deck. So now you go into the end phase. You got the glory to go with it.
That is 110% my logic. And I really think the first couple activations is just setting this warband up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And on top of that, you can score Ever Searching, which is a score immediately. Score this immediately after your warband's second or subsequent grave break reaction in the same phase. So if I'm doing it twice, I only have to do it one more time to score 2. I'm already getting 1. So just by digging up objectives and placing them, the hardest part will be that third one, right? Because it cannot be the same. It has to be a different one. Yep. So I might have to go into no man's territory. I might have to take something out of action. But I'm going into the end phase with 3 glory and potentially 3 selected upgrades in my hand.
It's hard to be upset about that.
Yeah.
The cost is high, though. It is, 3 to 4 activations.
Oh, for sure. And largely, you're probably dangling somebody out there so that, your net glory is probably not going to be +3. Because you're going to have to send somebody out, send one of the 2 wound fighters out to get that third objective.
And die again.
And then die. And then bring him back. Why not? Cool. So that's objectives.
That sets it up for our gambits. So I'll go first here. I'll keep the train rolling and read another one. And it's Bond Unbroken. The beast must be alive. So Furlane must be alive, and you can reroll an attack dice in Furlane's attack roll while there is a surviving Zondara. You can reroll a defense dice in her defense roll while there is a surviving friendly Furlane. The effect persists until the end of the phase. And I think that this accompanies that no stun unturned, because now I'm getting the offensive output I need with him. And at the same time, I'm protecting her to make sure that I continue to grave break. So I really like that persisting gambit turn 1. Jerod, what about you?
Yeah, so I like Atavistic Creativity. So this is a gambit spell reaction. It is on a channel. So she's a level 2 caster, so relatively easy to cast. Play this after you place a feature token. If cast, give a friendly fighter an upgrade. Do not spend any glory points when you do so. So you could Grave Break and then Unearth and then react. Because the Unearth is not a reaction to the Grave Break. It is one of the 2 options that you can do during the Grave Break reaction. So after that reaction has completed and you have placed the feature token, then you can do the Gambit spell reaction, because it is not like an after the activation reaction. So it's not hitting it, like it's not hitting the same window. So yeah, and you get to put on an upgrade that you just picked for free. And that upgrade could be any number of things that we will get to later.
Yeah.
Spicy.
Very good.
Trace, your selection?
I'll go last. I'm going to be boring, and I'm going to pick the thing that we usually pick, which is Driven Lurch. Push each friendly minion up to 1 hex. So this is a push 3 models up to 3 models, depending on how many are alive.
Yep.
1 hex. So since you're wanting to be on objectives to do things and, do your grave break and all that fun stuff, that positional piece of this warband is highly important. So this is a nice little push to get you exactly where you want to go, or at least closer to the thing you're trying to do.
Yeah.
It's easy. It's reliable. You should take it.
Yep. I really like it because you can't grave break if you take a super action.
Right.
So you could move a
Yep.
fighter and then push them onto the hex and make an attack. Push them onto it, go on guard. Yeah, lots of options there.
Yeah, I'm just really in love with the whole like grave breaking and selecting an upgrade. Just to like kind of because the combos are easier to go off, right? Like because I am selecting that card, I'm getting glory for grave breaking anyway if I have these objectives. So with the creativity spell that you just went over, Jerod, like these are not in our upgrade selection, but you have cursed strength that you could give somebody, which is +1 damage. Okay. And again, that can get you the additional placing of an objective token to kind of like grave break and get the end phase glory. But the only downside to that is they'll take a damage for the extra damage, or for the +1 damage, they take a damage after the attack action. But you could have also gone through your deck and got Undying Love, which these cards are very undervalued because this type of card starts at the beginning of a round. And if this card gets buried in your deck, it just loses value. So we don't play them very often. But Undying Love is when you give this upgrade to the fighter, and at the start of each round, if there is a surviving friendly bell and a surviving friendly beast, heal one each of those fighters and then push them towards each other, one of them up to 3 hexes towards the other. Again, setting this warband up turn 1, searching through your deck to get these upgrades, there's just a lot of potential for combos. Is there any other upgrades that out of the 3 we want in our starting hand though, Trace? What would be your pick?
Gosh. Cursed Flesh, probably.
Okay.
Really like Cursed Flesh because it is just a nice +1 wounds upgrade. The caveat to this is that after this fighter is taken out of action, you break this card. So it's a one-time use. But having the +1 wounds on one of your minions is pretty cool because you can take, especially when they're inspired, that they get a 4 wounds, which is pretty spicy.
Yeah.
So that's a good one that I would think that you should search for with some of those actions, just to try and get them out early.
Okay. Jerod?
Yeah, so Broken Heart is one that's interesting. So
which is broken.
I know, it's so broken. So while a friendly Zondara or friendly Furlane is out of action, +1 dice to this fighter's attack actions, and this fighter is inspired. So this is restricted to Zondara and Furlane. And so Jason covered the inspire condition. Zondara inspires if Furlane has 2 upgrades. Furlane inspires if Zondara has 2 upgrades. If one of them goes out of action before that happens, then there's no other way to inspire that fighter, the remaining fighter, the surviving fighter. But between the Unearth and being able to just find this when you need it, and the fact that it has a reaction on it, and it says, when a friendly Zondara or friendly Furlane is taken out of action, give this to a friendly fighter. Do not spend any glory points when you do so. So now this is 2 opportunities to give chosen upgrades without spending any glory.
It's pretty nice.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing a world where, because you can find your specific upgrades exactly when you want them, you've got a relatively easy surge, relatively easy end phase. I mean, there's a good chance that you could have, 4 or 5 glory or 4 or 5 upgrades on and have only spent 2 or 3 glory.
Mm-hmm.
And that is pretty uncommon in this day and age. There are some of the gifts for some of the other decks and things that let you put upgrades on if you kill somebody, but not just like, here, you rolled a channel on 2 magic dice, have an upgrade for free.
Yeah, and let's say like you're attacking heavy with the beast, right? And you put it on her, she's gonna be inspired. She's gonna have 4 dice, and like potentially could be hitting for 3 damage with her spell, right? Like because of the reaction.
Yep.
And it's almost to the point with no matter what I pair this with, if I'm playing Nemesis, if I draw like Broken Heart, I'm probably putting it back into my deck. Like,
yeah.
Like I will get this later.
Yeah, it's one of those where like the hard and fast rule becomes like an even lower number of upgrades, right? So like I always ditch 4 upgrades, 4 or 5 upgrades. I'm gonna ditch. 3 is always borderline, looking at my glory potential from the objectives that I have in hand. But this one now, you're going to start looking at your Nemesis pairing, right? Like you might keep 4 Nemesis specific upgrades in your hand because you know you've got the ability to dig for the ones that you want, and you've got atavistic creativity in hand.
Yes.
So, like,
I still don't know if I'm going to keep 4, but let's say
3.
Let's
it's
say
just
I
such
draw
a powerful option to have, you know? Like, so good.
Like if I don't draw the gambits that we selected, right? So I don't have Bond Unbroken, Creativity, and Driven Lurch. I have 2 other gambits, and like 2 Gravebreaker upgrades, and then 1 for my Nemesis pairing. I probably ditched the whole thing because those 2 other upgrades I'm gonna be able to get them. Like I'm gonna have 2 objectives in my area that my zombie people can get to pull them into my hand. Mm-hmm. So now I'm really just searching for whatever gambits I deem the best in my hand, and I will get the other utilities. Now, if I'm paired with Void Curse Thralls, I can't pull a Void Curse Thrall upgrade, but it's okay.
Yeah. It's also going to help clear your hand. It's going to help you get through your power deck faster. It'll give you the option to discard out like during the end phase.
Yeah, it's going to be powerful, and the fact that you can go through their objective deck in kind of the same way. It's they're going to be churning cards. We might, and I think maybe that's what has me so intrigued is for those that don't know, when I start playing a warband, I start at 22 cards. But maybe I start at 22 cards and 13 objectives, right? And I am not as penalized as much with this warband because I can get through it. But speaking of Void Curse Thralls, another upgrade that I think that you would like in your starting hand would be Amberbone Infusion, because that fighter could go to a defense characteristic of 2. Mm-hmm. So that might be good. Maybe.
It just sets the defense characteristic to 2. It does not give it an attribute. So it doesn't say 2 block or 2 dodge. So they're void cursed, and then now they're 2 block.
2 block. There's one more upgrade that we can't go without talking about, Jerod. What's that?
So that is the Excavated Bludgeon. This is an attack action upgrade. You can give this to a beast. So it's range 1, 2 fury, 3 damage. It is. So the artwork has one of the zombies holding a giant bone. It is reminiscent of the Great Sword, the Duke's Great Sword.
That's Cogsworth right there.
That's Cogsworth.
Yes.
Looking a little bit like Sir Gristlewell of Crackmarrow fame. But that's your classic, the Widow, Katha, classic Gristlewell. And then I cannot remember his name. Not Thug, but the other one. From Morgok. Morgok, Thug, and... I can't remember. Anyway.
Art Skull.
Art Skull. Jedrin, right? This, not really accurate, but when it lands, it's going to be awesome attack. But you're giving it to some little numpty minion that you can resurrect. So you give them the 2 fury for 3 damage attack. You go in and you swing and you miss and they die. you're like, okay, that's fine. He'll just be back later and he'll try again.
He
So
will.
good.
He will return.
So
And he'll be
good.
inspired.
So,
Well, awesome. So that's kind of our take on what cards you're looking for. It's been a while since I led this segment. So, play style.
play style. So, I think we're like an aggro positioning flex. I mean,
that's what I always play. So that's what I'm going to force them to play like. So,
right. Yeah. There's going to be some positioning that'll give you like that seed passive scoring or late game passive scoring option, right? Like if you can push to the middle and then you can kind of withdraw to control the engagement at the end of the game, you can get some of that passive scoring off just because you're in the right spot at the right time. But
Yeah.
I mean, they have some aggro stuff in there. They have some fighters out of action stuff.
I kind of feel like that this warband's play style is very dependent on what you pair them with. Because they can be, because you can resurrect them, like you can be more aggressive if you want to. So like if you wanted to play with Tooth and Claw or whatever, like I think that they have options across all of the decks that are available. The only one that really doesn't make a whole lot of sense would be, Paths to Prophecy, because you're actually having to hold objectives.
Yeah.
But anything that says like on a feature token, that I think is in play. So I think they can be anything, but I think flex is probably the best general way to describe them.
Yeah. I think eventually they're going to want to kill stuff.
Yeah.
You're fishing for all these upgrades. You get the upgrades that you want. Best way to get glory outside of, the occasional surge objective in the action phase is by killing stuff.
Yep.
So
yeah,
it is.
I think they're going to be a great flex. Like I think they're set. If you get the right objectives from their warband, turn 1, you can totally power your warband up for turn 2 and 3, or round 2 and 3, and just go hog wild. Mm-hmm. My full plan would be to kind of put Beauty and the Beast together and make them be bullies right in the center of the board, and then have the zombies excavating the objectives, almost forcing you to try to either come in and hit them as a tag team or split your lines and flank me. And I think if you flank me, then turn 2, I kind of am where I want to be with my upgrades, and then I just smash you back. So the next question would be boards.
I think
it is a 5-footer board, a 5-footer warband. So
yeah, I think you want to try and find. I don't think you want boards that allow you, like you want to have some of those mid your board starting hexes kind of close to each other. I feel like, just to kind of give you some opportunities to protect your, tag team, do some shenanigans with the grave break action, stuff like that.
Yeah. And you want openness, right? Like I want as few hazard hexes
That's right.
as possible.
And blocked hexes. You don't want blocked hexes.
So that just to give you can get objectives where you want them to be. Get those tokens where you want them to be.
Yeah,
the tokens is key. I agree there, Jerod. Like a lot of people like to place second board, right? So you'll have first board put down, you'll get 3 objectives to place.
Yeah.
My key on the board would be give me a board where I can place that one objective kind of not midline, not no man's, but maybe it's a little bit on my side, maybe it is no man's, to make sure that I'm forcing those other 2 deep into my territory. So now I can kind of make sure that I exhume when I need to exhume 3, I can.
Yeah. I like it. Makes sense.
So how do you beat them?
You got to kill Zondara. That'll be...
Why would you do that?
Because she is the only one that can resurrect.
She's beautiful.
She's the belle of the ball.
She's the belle.
She's also the linchpin of the warband.
She is, and that is,
yeah,
it is very sad because if she goes down, you can't resurrect. It's sad. So protect her, but she is going to have to do some work for you.
Yeah, I mean, she's not nothing though, right?
No,
like it's not like she's
pretty tough.
Yeah, she's not a Thedra or a Zarshia sitting on 3 wounds. Like the fact that she's 4 wounds matters. She goes to 2 block when she inspires.
Yeah, she goes to 2 block.
So.
Okay. Player rating. New player rating.
There's a lot going on. I'd say silver.
Yeah, I think the deck works.
Yeah.
But Trace, I agree. I think there's a lot to have to coordinate.
Yeah.
That is going to take a new player some time. But Jason is shaking his head.
I think you're both wrong.
We're wrong.
I think this warband is golden like her dress.
For a new player.
For a new player. They should learn quickly. There is a lot going on, but from a rival standpoint, this deck teaches you everything. It has everything in it. It as far as reaction spells, it gives the player the ability to learn positioning, have a big beefy guy that can kind of go out there and bully around, and then as well as you have to protect a 5-footer warband. I'm not saying it's going to be easy for a brand new player to pick this up and be like, oh, this is so simple because I know how to discard and I got to draw this and I got to draw that. But I think that this is every mechanic that we have in Underworlds is here in this deck. And I think that they're going to be a really good nemesis, or I'm sorry, a really good rivals playthrough. So, but it could be biased because it may be my favorite warband of all time.
Yeah, you're like super jazzed for this warband, man.
I am. It's a theme thing. It was the same with Thricefold. Like I'm super jazzed because of the theme of the deck. It may not be the S tier warband that some want, but this is what I want.
Yeah. What do you think of our Nemesis pairing?
I've really struggled. I've spent a lot of time trying to get this deck right. So the first time I get to get out there and play with them. And I do think that there are going to be 2 play styles. I think you guys pointed out some great stuff about Daring Delvers and placing objective tokens, but that build has to be more aggressive, and that is not my play style. So I'm going to fall back to the old reliable of Void Curse Thralls because I don't, it doesn't matter to me if any of them really gets Void Cursed. I would prefer she doesn't, but it's okay if she does. It gives me extra movement, which gives me extra supports to shore up kind of my really bad attack actions on some of them. There's no real hold in there. So I think it's gonna be a really good pairing for them.
Yeah. So if you want something that's a bit more control-y, go Void Cursed. I think if you want aggro, I think Delvers or Tooth and Claw are probably
I would agree, Jerod.
Going to be your go-tos. Just because you've got so many beasts in there that you can key off of with Tooth and Claw. Nobody wants a 5 damage excavated bludgeon coming at you.
Very true. And they have an in-faction push.
Yeah.
I try to do Beastbound Assault. I just think that there's too much holding aggro on the other side of the board for them.
Yeah.
I just don't think that it works well.
Yeah. I think Daring works because you're placing so many feature tokens, so you can up that exploration count without actually having to have explorers or be in enemy territory.
Yep.
And then Tooth and Claw is just your classic aggro.
And then just from the hold perspective, if you're some fortress, there's a lot of just hold feature tokens. Not beyond feature tokens, so you don't have to hold them, which they can do well because they have some decent movement.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's them. Zandire's Gravebreakers Fallen.
Good Lord.
Stormsire's Grave Cursors.
Yep.
Breakers.
All right.
Speaking of breaks.
We will take a break and be right back.
And we're back, and we are here to talk about some Rimelocked Relics. And I just want to start, for all of the veterans out there, these are not the Cataphrane Relics. So fear not, you're not going to have Stormsire or Steelheart or the Warden sitting in the back doing the Cataphrane Relic action to just earn 2 glory per activation. Was it 2 glory per activation or 1 glory? I don't even remember anymore.
It was two, and it was amazing.
It was amazing. It was so frustrating. Sepulchral Warden just standing in the back of the battlefield being like, 2 glory, 2 glory, 2 glory. Oh, you're going to come in and attack me? I guess I'm going to get extra dice and rerolls and cleave and nonsense. It's not that. So we don't have to worry.
Why not?
All right. I know, right? Let's just completely destroy the game with one Rivals deck. Anyway, so it does have a plot card. FYI, all of you championship holder honors. If you include one or more cards in your decks that bear the Rimelocked Relic symbol, show this card to your opponent in the reveal your warband step and use these rules in the game. When you give a Rimelocked, this is a bolded, italicized keyword. When you give a Rimelocked upgrade to a friendly fighter, that card is not revealed. Instead, it is placed face down. While that card is face down, it is Rimelocked and has the Thaw ability. In the reaction step following an activation step, place a Thaw counter on this card. When this card has 3 or more Thaw counters, remove each Thaw counter on this card and turn this card face up. So it is not a reaction in and of itself. It is just an ability that occurs during the reaction step that follows any activation step. So you put the upgrade on, and then you go through one activation, and then another one, and then another one. So the 4th activation, after you put the upgrade on, it is now active. So that is what Rimelocked Relics are. That's the plot card. The idea being that there are these, pretty potent relics that have been frozen thanks to the Curse of the Everwinter here in Gur. But yeah, so Jason, we're playing the game, drawn our opening hand. We sat down with the Rimelocked Relics Rivals deck for our warband. What is one of the objectives that we want to see early in our hands?
Early? So what I do like about this Rivals deck is it adds more hold objectives into the game. So I want Icebound Defenders. Score this in the end phase if your warband holds 2 or more objectives and your warband holds each objective in 1 or more territories for 2 glory. We've seen this before in other warbands. It's a great first end phase starter card.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can almost assuredly set this up by placing 1 objective in no one's territory. And so that'll ensure that you probably have 2 in your territory, or maybe you get lucky and you have 1, and so you hold 1 in no one's and 1 in yours, and then you're set to go. I will point out that it does have my favorite warband in the card art here, King Morlock Velmorn.
And don't you have a very similar card?
Yeah. So it's Protected Inheritance.
Yeah, double down.
Might as well. Let's go to Vegas, baby.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So after we see Icebound Defenders, we're also going to look for Icy Grip. So this is Surge Duel. Score this immediately after an opponent's activation step. If your warband holds 2 or more objectives, and one or more of those objectives are in no one's and or enemy territory. So a little bit more aggressive than Icebound Defenders, but it is a surge version of this card. And so, yeah, it's a classic hold 2 for 1 glory. It does key into the kind of later mechanic of it being after an opponent's activation step. So we're working on that. And then Trace.
So in typical Trace fashion, I'm going to go for the most aggressive of these objectives. And I'm going to say Shattered Defenses. This is a surge duel. Score this immediately after a friendly fighter's attack action if that attack action was successful and the attacker is holding an objective in no one's or enemy territory. So on our way to try and score these other 2 that were previously listed, you are going to try and get a successful attack action and end on an objective when you charge.
Yeah.
So all according to plan.
That's right. It's good stuff. So, and that's the theme, is there's a lot of hold. There's a lot of successful attack action. But the card art is amazing. All of the Rimelocked relics are like, they look like they're made out of like blood. Mm-hmm. So just throughout the whole deck, you've got a bunch of people holding a bunch of weapons that look like they're made out of blood, which is just fun. Trace, I'm going to kick it back to you. We got our gambit. We drew our power cards. What are the gambits that we're hoping to see?
The first one that I'm going to pick is Cool Heads. Friendly fighters holding objectives cannot be pushed. This effect persists until the end of the next power step. So you've made your charge action, you've popped somebody, hopefully, and now you want to make sure you stay there as reliably as possible. So you play this card, can't be pushed off the objective.
Seems convenient. Feels like that makes Icy Grip and or Shadow Defenses a lot easier to score.
It does. It does.
Yep. And then I guess if you play it in the last power step, it'll persist through the first activation of the next round.
Oh, true.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Nice. Good choice. Jason, what you thinking?
Well, I have 2, and I'm going to go with Glacial Advance. And the reason
I wonder what that's going to be. Glacial Advance from a Battle Mallet deck review. Gosh.
It's a spell because it is glacial, so it's kind of like an avalanche.
Yeah.
No. So choose up to 2 friendly fighters and push each chosen fighter 1 hex. After each push, that fighter must be holding an objective. Right? So it's a standard push, but it's for 2 and it's onto the objectives which we want to do. But here's what I really like about it, or not, because I don't want to give them a token, but I have to. So then give each chosen fighter 1 move token or 1 charge token. The reason I like this is it's pretty powerful because you're pushing 2 fighters for 1 and doing stuff that this objective deck wants to do by getting on the objectives. But I like the choice between a move and a charge token. Yeah. So if I'm pushing them and I want to attack, I give them a move token. But if the rest of my warband is already charged out, I'm not blocking the activation by just giving a move token. So I really enjoy that was put in there for attacks to push 2 fighters. Yeah. So yeah, that's my pick.
I like it. It's a good pick too, because here we are, card art again. It's got your boys.
It does.
And March of the Dead loves them moving charge tokens. And then, so the last one that we picked is Sudden Thaw. This is a domain spell. Each time a Thaw counter would be placed on a face-down Rimelocked upgrade, place 1 additional Thaw counter on that card. This effect persists until the end of the round or until another domain gambit is played. So things are heating up here in the canyon. The Curse of the Everwinter is abating somewhat. So these Rimelocked relics are going to thaw just a little bit faster. So you'll get it after 2 activations now instead of 3. There are other gambits in here that allow you to place thaw counters, manipulate thaw counters in some way. So, there is the potential that you could throw a Rimelocked relic onto a fighter and get it out fairly quickly with this domain in play. But Sweet. Jason, what upgrades do we want?
Well, if we're going to be standing on all of these objectives, we probably want something that makes sure that we end on the objectives. So rimworm skin boots. You cannot give this to a large... What?
Rhyme worm.
Whatever.
That's fine.
Continuing the thing.
Zandire's Gravebreakers.
Nailed it.
You can't give this to a large fighter or beast. This fighter cannot be pushed by enemy warbands.
Yeah.
So the fact that it's large or beast is a little limiting, but it can be pushed by your warband.
Yes.
Just not enemy warbands.
Yeah.
And again, we want to be on objectives. So I think it's one you need.
And I really like that it has that caveat that you cannot be pushed by enemies. So that's good. Trace, objective number 2.
You said objective? You mean
upgrade number 2.
Right?
Wow.
Yeah. It's getting late. It's okay. I'm going to pick the Arctic Crown. This is a Rimelocked upgrade. Reaction, use this after an activation step if this fighter is holding an objective in enemy territory. Inspire this fighter.
Say what?
That's so good.
You heard me. Inspire this fighter.
Jedrin wants this crown.
I think a lot of fighters want this crown, sir.
Yeah.
A lot of the big beefies.
I can think of a big troll that really wants this crown.
Yeah. I mean, even like Kanan, right? Like getting 3
Kanan
bone type counters is not always the easiest.
Yeah.
Black
powder.
Yeah.
Black powder wants it. Yeah.
Negate the swag counters.
Yeah. Any of the big
it's just been a long time since we've seen a card that inspires.
Yeah.
I know that we just covered one in the last warband, but a universal card that inspires a fighter in the early years of this game was kind of a staple. The fact that we've seen it come back, and there's attacks because you have to wait, 3 post activations to do it. But if you have that card, we can speed it up. And there are certain fighters in the game that are just a lot better when they're inspired. So,
yeah,
exponentially better.
I do like that it's been reined in that it's not inspire this fighter, and this fighter cannot be uninspired.
That's right.
So, it's not a permanent inspire. The Ideneth Deepcan warbands come to mind. Like you're not removing their ebb and flow mechanic, but you might be able to just negate it or work around it for a turn, which is really cool. And then the other one that we want to see early, just because it's amazing, is Layfrost Conduit. This is another Rimelocked upgrade, and this is -1 defense to a minimum of 1 from enemy fighters during this fighter's attack actions. And then while this fighter is holding an objective, this fighter supports each friendly fighter. So just a flat -1 damage or -1 defense.
Yeah.
Like I don't have to be adjacent. Like you don't have to be adjacent to me. It's not range restricted. This feels like an upgrade that is worth waiting 3 activations after spending the glory to put it on.
Sure. Then once you've charged out, you're just supporting no matter where you are.
Yeah.
As long as you're on objective, right?
Yep. So if you have this with Gnarl Spirit Pack and you've got Lupin.
Oh.
So now every fighter has double supports.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
That seems pretty spicy. So there are other Rimelocked upgrades that are kind of worth talking about. I think probably our favorite one that we'll talk about, the rest we'll leave for the viewer, is the Frost Gale. So this is an attack action. It is Rimelocked. It is range 4, 3 smash, 1 damage with ensnare. So, just a good way to get some distance plink damage down. This fighter wants to be on objectives.
Yeah, and it helps you score shattered defenses if you get it out.
Yeah,
And they don't come out like you want because you're standing so far away. You're just going to shoot them.
Yeah, just get a successful attack action. You're not necessarily looking for the kill. So, yeah. So, I mean, overall, like not that complex of a deck. It's got some hold. It's got some successful attack action stuff.
Do you think do you think it's worth the tax? Like the thaw tax?
I'm excited to try it. I don't know that it's worth it. It just depends. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. I think it's a pretty hefty lift to get some of those things out. So,
yeah. I think you're going to be looking for a warband that doesn't like need the Rimelocked upgrades
now.
Yeah. That they're going to be okay without them. Or that you've got enough fighters that
you can absorb
that
some
it doesn't matter. Yeah. Do you clear counters when you don't clear? Do you clear counters when a fighter goes out? You clear counters when a fighter goes out of action. Yeah, I was thinking about like Sepulchral Guard or even Zondara's Curse Gravers. If putting them on fighters that can be resurrected would make a difference, but if you're gonna lose the thaw counters when you go out of action, maybe not. That might be worth it if you can get them thawed before they go out of action. But I'm interested to try it. I think that it's got some really good objectives that might make it worth dipping into. And if you're going to be dipping into it anyway, you can give some of the upgrades a shot. But
I don't think that the resurrection is the way to get around it. So
no.
Because they're just going to be you're going to be on lower health pool fighters. But I do think that the objective part of this deck has me curious to play it with Sepulchral Guard. Yeah. And I mean, the play there would be to put on some of the more potent, like Frost Gale onto just a bony boy sitting in back, right?
Yeah.
So there's no risk of him losing it. But I really like the objectives because they are a hold. It truly is a hold. I mean, there's almost like a supremacy in here, right? Like
there is a supremacy. I think it requires some Rimelocked upgrades, but
you have to have one fighter that has a upgrade,
a Rimelocked upgrade. Yeah.
But I think it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see what people build with it. I'm not a fan of the thaw mechanic. Like, if I'm waiting that many activations after I've already had to get a glory,
right?
I want it to be like, oh, my upgrade just. Even if they broke, even like afterwards, like they thaw, so they're super brittle, but it's like +2 damage.
Yeah.
And then it's just broken afterwards.
Yeah.
That's kind of like what I would have liked to see, but there are some really spicy ones in here. And I am excited to try it. And I think I will try it with Sepulchral Guard first. Where do you guys think that it fits in?
I mean, I like my whole Velmorn. Right, like I'm a big fan of Fearsome Fortress with Velmorn, and I like Mass with Velmorn because there's objective stuff, and so there's double dipping with some of the stuff that Velmorn's deck wants to do anyway. So I'm with you. Like I'll probably give it a shot, see how it plays out. You get some extra pushes in there, and stuff, and then range. Right, like Jedrin would love to have a range 4 or 3 smash attack.
He definitely would.
So, or the Arctic Crown.
I'm actually interested to try this with Kanan.
Yeah.
You
don't have the res, but you got the bodies. Just straight bodies.
Yep. And they're more stout bodies than some of the other undead warbands, I feel like.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of the baked-in movement, too.
Yeah. So we've got so I guess that kind of covers our Nemesis pairing playstyle. I mean, it's pretty strongly hold.
Yeah, it's hold
with some flex. There's more than a couple fighters out of action, fighters wounded, objectives in the objective deck. Boards, as always, when it comes to a pure rivals deck, is go with what works for your warband. And in this case, you want to pick boards that are going to give you optimized objective placement so that you can be on those. Any thoughts on what we do if we're playing against this deck?
Well, I think you just highlighted it unintentionally, and that's to kill the fighters. If you're playing against a warband that can res, kill the fighters that have the Rimelocked Relics that are not thawed yet, because the counter's clear.
Yep. Otherwise, stand on objectives yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Your opponent can't stand on objectives if your fighters are there.
Yeah, stand.
I mean, the cool thing is that objective is not revealed, right? So they don't. Your opponent doesn't know it's coming.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to put this like Arctic Crown onto someone, and you don't know that they're going to inspire in 4 turns.
Yep.
Scary.
But,
okay, yeah. Cool. New player rating.
I think it's silver. I mean, I would give it a silver only not because of the plot card, right? The plot card would bring it down, but I think it's a silver because that the objectives are so straightforward.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of crazy shenanigans like have 17 thaw counters or anything like that.
Yeah. I like the deck. I'm interested to see how the thaw mechanic really works in practice. Yeah, I'm excited for it.
Cool. Well, let's break this brittle section and we'll come back for the outro. And we're back, and that will wrap up the 60th episode of the Battle Mallet podcast. As always, want to say thanks for listening. You've obviously found the podcast, but if you're interested in seeing pictures of what we're up to, we are on X, formerly known as Twitter, as @BattleMallet1. We are Battle Mallet PCast on Instagram. We are Battle Mallet Podcast on Facebook. We have a Discord server that you can join. We have a YouTube channel. So if you stumbled upon us in this way, but you need to be able to listen to the podcast via YouTube because of work restrictions or whatever, you can catch up on our more recent episodes there. And you can also watch an unboxing of Zondara's Gravebreakers, the Rimelocked Relics deck, and the entirety of the Rivals of the Mirrored City box, all on YouTube. We appreciate all of the likes and subscribes and all of those things. It's the best way to share our content out and around and make sure that other people get to listen to it. As far as shout outs for this week are concerned, Zach Newcomb is working with Warzone Atlanta to host a Nemesis Underworlds tournament. It is a world qualifier event. So you can go and get your qualifier ticket to go to Worlds in November. So you can find more information on that if you just go to warzoneatlanta.com or check out the links that are all over the Underworld's Facebook pages, in our Discord, etc. I think that's it. We've got 4 more episodes coming out in hopefully the next 4 weeks. We'll see how that recording goes. Plus maybe a bonus episode where we just quickly walk through what we're going to be up to for Nova. But I think that's it. So for the Battle Mallet podcast, we are a boudoir, a clock, and a candlestick. This is Jerod signing out.
Straight thawing out.
Oh, nice one.
And I'm Jason Table New Murray. Get the hell out of here.
Peace.
I guess go Bills.
The Battle Mallet podcast is protected under the Creative Commons license. If you have further questions as to its use, you can find more information via links on podcast.battle-mallet.com. Music by Anno Domini Beats.
We didn't land on Sherwood Forest. Sherwood Forest landed on us.